Vincent So I'm wondering, former council member Orange, if you could start by telling us a little bit more about your vision for promoting housing and affordability in the district. As mayor, how much emphasis would you put on increasing housing supply? That's something other candidates talk about quite a lot on the stage.
Well, I would put a major emphasis on increasing the housing supply. Clearly here in the nation's capital, we need affordable housing. I've been around, we really didn't have any affordable housing, but we created a plan called the Economic Resurgence of Washington, D.C., Citizens Plan for Prosperity, and we executed 40 action items of that plan. And during the time that occurred, we had the control board, we had a $518 million deficit, we were scared of Y2K, and we just didn't know what was going on. But the thing that worked for us is that the federal government was here, everyone had jobs. Strongly D. Jarvis and Richard Monte came up with that plan, and then we brought in Mayor Williams and more professional counsel. We executed that plan, and that plan called for affordable housing, along with a number of things. I'm not Benjamin Banneker, but I did change the comprehensive plan to rebirth the new market. I was the co-chair of the North Capitol New Metro Station that created NOMA, and along with those projects came housing. But the problem today is that back then we were looking at 80% of the AMI. And I think now we have to now look at our first responders need housing, our teachers need housing, our police officers need housing, our nurses need housing. So I would utilize the Housing Production Trust Fund, $100 million that comes in on an annual basis, and I would get a short-term victory. I'm going to build 1,600 square feet units, and those units will be for first responders, they'll be for seniors, they'll be for minimum wage workers, as well as recent college graduates, because we need them to be here in the District of Columbia to be able to work.
Why is your approach focused on tiny homes? What is it about that form of building that feels most valuable to you, most exciting?
Right now it's called tiny homes when I first introduced it, almost a decade ago. But now it's workforce housing, and 600 square feet is considered to be the premium, because right now they're building like 450 square feet. But once again, my goal is to get homeownerships, to get recent college graduates, let them have a deed so they can continue, they can build wealth. For those seniors that can afford it. My units, I expect them to be around $75,000. We'll utilize land here in the District of Columbia. And also, they will be built by our certified business enterprises, so I can ensure that the dollar continues to circulate in the District of Columbia. So my housing proposal, it covers a variety of things, but it also keeps the dollar in the District of Columbia. And so some of those dollars will be coming back into our treasury by way of taxes, and we can fill the need. I get a short-term victory, I build those 1,000 units, people begin to believe, and then we'll be able to do more. We spent almost $1.5 billion through the Housing Production Trust Fund, but people are not filling it. They can't fill that house. They're still looking, but where's this affordable housing that they keep talking about? They keep putting $100 million in this fund over and over again, but yet folks cannot touch it. They can't fill it. And in particular, our minimum wage workers can't fill it, our seniors can't fill it, our firefighters, police officers, teachers, and nurses.
Do you think that's because it's not tailored for the right affordability levels for this?
That is correct. Initially, as I indicated, it was for 80% of the AMI. When we were building this economy, and we were going from that $518 million deficit when we left 8 years later, $1.6 billion in the bank. Everyone, the attraction was we had people that had disposable income. They had 6 figures, so they could afford that at that point in time. Now we're in an affordability crisis. I'm the one that got the minimum wage to $15, but I put indexing in. So July 1, it will go to $18.40. know folks are talking about, let's go for $25 per hour, but I looked at it the other day, the indexing that I put in will get us close to that $25, and they want to have a maybe it's like 20, 30. So it's really just having a vision and making sure that we take care of all levels of income in the District of Columbia. And we have a unique opportunity, and the only reason why it's a unique opportunity is because of COVID changed our way of life. And the administration down at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, they have changed our life because we can't count on federal jobs. We've lost anywhere from 22 to 25,000 jobs. Our downtown is suffering because we don't have people walking around downtown. We don't have the income. So I think we need to pivot and use our greatest assets right now, in my view, museums, hotels, theaters, restaurants, our sports activity. We have about $800 million of investment down here that's going to be headed by Ted Leosis. And then we have the RFK project that's coming. We can use those as engines, but we have to make sure we take care of the residents because they can fulfill those jobs and it provides them an opportunity to be here.
You mentioned your role in advancing a past comprehensive plan, and I'm wondering what your priorities would be for DC's comprehensive plan as mayor.
Well, I think right now we need a mayor that's definitely going to enhance what we have. We need a mayor that's going to bring what's in the pipeline to fruition. For example, I was the seventh vote to bring the Nationals back, to bring baseball back to the city. We knew it was going to be an engine. Everybody said, oh, you're spending $625 million, you're wasting money. Look at it now. Think about Abe Pollard. He's way out in the Capital One Arena somewhere, and he says, you know what, I'm going to drop this MCI Center right here, and look what's going to happen. And when we did the convention center down the street, if we drop that there, this is going to happen. So these are the type of things that we need to look at. I'm really upset that we didn't have the foresight to go after the Sphere that's now coming to Prince George's County. And now they're boasting $65 million that they're going to generate on an annual basis. Our pivot, in my view, is to family entertainment. That Sphere should have been at New York and Gettysburg. It should be tied to the National Arboretum. Langston Golf Course should be developed properly to where if it's developed properly, it can look back over the golf course into where the new stadium is going to be. Those are all opportunities, but we cannot get there if we don't have the right leadership, executive leadership in execution mode with institutional knowledge.
Some of what you're talking about right now reminds me of your proposals for RFK Stadium back in the day. You proposed a redevelopment that would have included an indoor water park, an 18-hole golf course. Now, of course, the site is undergoing a massive redevelopment, which looks a little different than what you proposed. But as mayor, what investments would you want to see prioritized at RFK, and how would you ensure the city and its residents get the most out of that?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because that was in 2013. And actually, DS.com wrote an article on that, and I actually testified about that at the council. And in that article, it also indicates that I had a conversation with President Trump. He wasn't the president at that time. He was here trying to get the hotel, which he successfully doing. And I was indicating to him that this is our future, and that's what's documented. I said we need to have that dome stadium, where we need to have actually become the Hollywood of the East, and we need to have family entertainment. And if you look at some of the things that he's talking about, there is some common interest there. He wants to invest in apprenticeships. We need to invest in apprenticeships. He wants the city to be safe. We want the city to be safe. Although I want to be in control of public safety. I don't need him to be in control of public safety. And also I know that we have been funding for 4,500 officers over the past 4 or 5 years, but there's only 3,100 officers. What's happening to those dollars? And that opened the way for him to come in because we did not have officers. And on top of that, the federal government said, you guys are playing with the numbers. We said we weren't. And then all of a sudden, here we got 13 officers that are basically going to be terminated. So we have to make sure that we don't get caught with our pants down. We have to be true for ourselves. We have to be true to the mission, true to the goal, true to where we're going, so we can really deal with the White House and Congress from a position of strength as opposed to a position of weakness.
Well, when it comes to finding common ground with the current administration, as it relates to transportation and infrastructure priorities, I'm wondering where you see those areas of common ground. Do you support the Trump administration's plans to build a triumphal arch? Do you support the administration's planned ballroom redesign?
Well, what I support is first we got to look at the realities of it all. This is the nation's capital, but it's also a living city of 700,000 residents. So whatever takes place, as the executive leader of the District of Columbia, I'm going to give the lens of the residents of the District of Columbia. And then I'm also going to look at the realities of it all too, because I know very well Article 1, Section 8 gives overriding control. Now the two items that you mentioned basically are federal items. But however, what I would want to examine with him when he says he wants to spend $10 billion in the District of Columbia, I want to examine that package to see what it's about. It's just like Malcolm X Park. That was beneficial to us. I'm not going to spend it in a way. You want the water to flow, you want that to be nice, I'm not going to spend it in a way of that. So I think we need to examine this whole thing about decoupling. I'm not so sure we're on the right page of that, because basically what the council did, and they did it in darkness, they never had a public hearing. The $600 million budget, part of the budget gap that we have right now, is part of their doing. The $600 million, if we had not decoupled, would have went to the middle class in the District of Columbia. Middle class, seniors, and our businesses. And you say, why do you think that? Because our citizens, our working class, would have been able to deduct overtime, they would have been able to deduct tips, they would have been able to deduct finance charges on their cars. Our seniors would have got an extra $6,000 deduction. Now, how I look at it, all that money is going to be spent in our economy. And so those dollars are circulating. But the council's plan was, well, we're going to take that $600 million, but we're going to be the middleman. We're going to give $200 million to the low-income families, but we're going to keep $400 million, and they never told us what they're going to do with it. And then all of a sudden, you send that up. The mayor, sometimes you really got to watch the mayor. The mayor did not sign that package, and Congress kicked it back. And that created the $600 million budget gap. And then the mayor comes and says, you have another $400 million gap due to child care costs and health costs. So it's, once again, when you've been there with Mayor Williams and Sharon Ambrose and showing you Jarvis, those that were there, and you have that kind of knowledge. That's why I said we need executive leadership with institutional knowledge that has a vision for the citizens of the District of Columbia, and we do everything out in the open, because everyone has an opinion. We should value that and scrutinize whatever anyone has to say. And everything that comes out of that White House is not bad. Now, for me, home rule is non-negotiable, right off the top, Mr. President. DC autonomy is non-negotiable, Mr. President, right off the top. The pursuit of statehood is non-negotiable, Mr. President, right off the top. And by the way, since we're talking, I know you want to negotiate, I'm here to ask him, can we have control of the National Guard? I'm going in there with, we want the National Guard, and put safety on us. And so that's the type of leadership that I'm going to bring as mayor of the District of Columbia, and looking out for us. And I'm not going to be long-winded, let's make this one last point. So I testified a couple weeks ago before Chairman Mendelson, and I indicated, Mr. Mendelson, we need to jumpstart this economy. Now, I'm known for jumpstarting economic development, school modernization, and recreation centers. I said we can get $2.5 billion in our economy without raising taxes, because you already have $1.5 billion in the budget for certified business enterprises, and then the $600 million from the company. You add that, that gets you $2.1 billion, and I even throw in the $200 million that you want to give to low-income families. And the way our system is set up, we have 4 reserves. You can use a portion of the contingency reserve to balance the budget, and the CFO will give you that $180 million that he's holding on to, because he doesn't believe that you're going to prevail on the decoupling issue.
Well, I want to ask a little bit more about how you think about the budget as it relates to housing and transportation. So how do you think about meeting long-term funding requirements for Wilmota?
Well, that's a regional discussion.
But it has implications for DC.
Yes, absolutely, but still, it's a regional and federal discussion. I mean, the metro, yes, we utilize it, we love it, but, basically, when you look at Metro is bringing in the workforce for the federal government. Metro is bringing people all from the suburbs. I mean, we use it, I get on in Brooklyn, and take me a couple miles downtown, but who really is utilizing that? And so I really believe that there should be a bigger investment from the federal government, as well as the, Virginia and Maryland, because they benefit tremendously from the metro, from Wilmota. And but
how would you hold those regional partners to account to pay for more than their share?
Well, it's like anything else. You have to make a case, and I get folks together, our best minds, to make the case, and also make the case to Congress and the White House on we want the metro. It serves us. It's an economic. It helps us with an economic engine because we want the folks to come into DC because we can spend their money here. The only way we get revenue is from sales tax. So we want them in, and so it does benefit us. But the overriding objective is they get a better benefit because when people from Virginia and Maryland come to town to work, those paychecks go back to those jurisdictions where it's taxed. It's not taxed here. So, it'd be great if we could tax at their source. So I think that we have to be more strategic. Paying family leave. We're paying for